So let's get into our topics that we want to talk about. And the first one was a shock and kind of not. And that is that Evernote has been sold. It's sold to a company called Bending Spoons. And for me, this is actually really shocking in a way because Evernote was once considered one of Silicon Valley's biggest unicorns. Like I went to the very first Evernote Trunk conference and everyone was basically just waiting for Evernote to go public. But then they stagnated, as we've talked about many times on the podcast, and it wasn't clear what was going to happen. People thought maybe Google would buy them, maybe other companies might buy them. And now out of nowhere, this Italian company called Bending Spoons, which mainly makes AI-powered video and image editing software. And yeah, Evernote's going to be part of that now. And Evernote says that development's still continuing. They're rolling out apparently Google Docs-like multi-editing features and more Microsoft 365 integrations. But, this just puts things up in the air, at least for me. What do you think about this, Tan? Is this a sign to get out of Evernote if you're in there still using it now? And if not, would you recommend somebody get into Evernote now? What do you think about this whole development, Tan? Did it shock you? What do you think?
Yeah, I was pretty shocked to see this. There were no rumors about this whatsoever, at least from the outside. If you're on the inside, maybe. But the fact that Evernote got sold to a smaller company, I think is in a way alarming. It didn't get sold to one of the bigger tech companies. It wasn't sold to one of the competitors, which oftentimes will happen with software companies like that because they're trying to acquire more customers and similar eyeballs and stuff. And that didn't happen. It actually got sold to a quote-unquote relatively small software company based in Italy. And so I thought, okay, that's interesting. That seems almost to me like the company gave up in a way. And the fact that the company who bought it, if you look at all the other apps that they've built, it was all like video and image editing apps. So it was nothing productivity related directly. And so they probably saw an opportunity where they said, this is a distressed asset. It's not going so well. The UI is pretty old. There's not been a lot of major changes and movements in this app. We can probably do it a lot better. I think that in a way is exciting because the apps that I looked into, what they've created seems very beautiful, very streamlined. The marketing behind it seems really good. And I wonder if they can take that to Evernote, right? Now, as a consumer, I am still using Evernote. I'm still using it to this day. I'm still a big fan of it. However, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it to everybody moving forward because I just don't know what's going to happen with the company that is now being, transferred to another company. So whenever there's a change of management, you just never know what's going to happen. So I'm a little bit on the sideline to say, hey, if anybody is recommending a note-taking app, I personally wouldn't say Evernote right now, even though I am personally using it because I've been using it for over a decade now. So if you're thinking about what other note-taking apps you should look into, I would say Notion is a really popular one, especially when collaboration is really important for you. We have Apple Notes, which I think has become such a great tool now. All the tech companies have great note-taking apps now. We have Microsoft with OneNote, we have Google with Keep. So all these big software companies now have their own note-taking version out that is very viable as an alternative to Evernote and other note-taking apps as well.
It's going to be interesting to see. I'm the same way. I wouldn't personally recommend getting into Evernote now, but I don't think it's necessarily a sign you need to jump out if you're a user and you still like it. If it's still working for you, you don't need to all of a sudden pull the plug. But I definitely would recommend looking at, like you said, something like Notion, something else, or Obsidian if you're into that type of thing. Not the time to get into Evernote now until we see what they're going to do. Maybe it's going to be really cool what they do with the company, maybe now that there's maybe some more energy behind it. We'll definitely keep watching, but this one came out of left field. I always expected Evernote to get sold out, but I'm just glad I wasn't one of the Silicon Valley VCs that put a bunch of money into it, hoping for it to go public, because nope.